We once again find ourselves on the desert wastes of every pro's favorite map. It's DSDR, and today, spawning as the blue team's leader up on the Northern Highlands, it's gonna be none other than JTL, clocking in at 40 open skill and with silver chevrons to match. A wombo combo of a commander on the front lines here. Very, very excited to see exactly how our blue team leader is going to handle this. Sometimes we've seen some cheeky strategies coming out from the pros here. Little low ground labs over here. Some cheeky shenanigans doing labs, even over on this side as well. Very, very cool to see. Very cool stuff indeed. And I'm always excited to see exactly what the pros are going to get up to. All the way on the other side of the match, spawning on exactly the mirrored position. It's Chronopolize, 39 true skill, and hailing from Canada. It's going to be our silver chevroned hero, wearing some Cortex red. Wearing Cortex as well, or going Cortex, I should say. Going to be paying a wind turbine here to hopefully get a transport handed over by a polygon. Transport's very often used on this map. Sorry to zip around so quickly. Transport's usually used very often on this map as a way to capture this middle island right here. I did learn a long time ago that this map is actually technically a little bit imba. Yeah, apparently imbalanced just barely, not enough that it's still worth playing for the pros. Not worth making a fuss over, but it is technically a little bit left-hand sided. So, in case you're ever looking to stat pad your game, maybe you're looking to get that OS up and running and you happen to be playing DSDR, maybe consider spawning on the left-hand side if you can at all help it. Joining the team that has the start box on the left, maybe it'll help you out. I don't know. I've certainly seen plenty of games where the right-hand side wins as well. I think the difference is probably made up more so in micro and overall skill level than it really is going to matter. The minor differences in metal placements, and for instance, well, one of the big things is that if you put a tactical nuclear missile launcher, a tactical missile launcher, a Cortex tactical missile launcher on this hillside, you can actually bombard this base right here, where it is not true on this hill. You can't actually reach all the way into the base over on this side. As far as I understand it, that's where the imbalance comes from. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe we could see a tweak to this map that just kind of extends this mountain a little bit further in this direction, right? And then you can fire the nuke into this base just like that. That might solve some of the balance issues. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a balance expert. I just happen to watch about a bajillion games a day. Speaking of a bajillion games a day, we did just finish, well, playing and watching and enjoying the live stream. So in case you're interested in some more Brightworks or maybe some live content, I know I've gotten a couple of comments of people asking for POV videos, right? Me playing the game. And well, if you want that sort of thing, I would definitely say to check out the live stream. That's a much better source for that sort of stuff. I'm not so confident in my own gameplay that I want to make a video about it. I'll be honest. I'll be brutally honest. I have a much better time watching the pros go head to head because they have all the micro, all the skill, and all the potential to do some wonderful maneuvers out on the map, and I think I enjoy watching that a whole lot more, as well as a whole bunch of other people do enjoy it. Rover's headed across the map right now, the light scout vehicles for the Armada faction. There's an LLT in base right here for this vehicle commander, and this must be something that's new, and I love it. I think it's a great idea. If you're going to be playing vehicles, you might as well go for that LLT in base. You're already going to be spending tons and tons of metal. You might as well go for the LLT since you're forced to walk the commander very, very early on. And indeed, Zar XT4 here, the Seafoam Green commander, has walked the commander all the way forward here to capture this 2.0 metal extractor and even try and capture the orange metal extractor right here, or what should be the orange metal extractor. Definitely, if we can get that up and running quicker rather than later, it could be a tremendous benefit. JTL flying the commander forward. We do have a fighter moving to intercept, but that commander does drop out of that plane right there. Just transported the commander around enough to get these metal extractors up and running. We do have a vehicle bay up here as well as a construction turret. That's always good to see. Gonna start pumping out a whole bunch of ticks and pawns and all sorts of good Armada goodies, trying to contest this very, very important metal infrastructure out here on the map. Aggression across the map so far has been, well, back and forth here, I would say. There is a single pawn looking to cause damage. Oh my goodness. It's been queued in a big circle right here, essentially just teasing this Janus, right? Trying to get them to pull units back from the front line, delaying reinforcements right here so the rocket bots have more time to fire away at this commander, and I think it's worth it. Yeah, what a beautiful meta play from metas. Ironic, but beautifully done here. The orange commander now blasting away with those rocketeers at the LLTs that Zar was relying on to keep all this very safe. Eventually, the pawn is destroyed. I imagine the Janus missiles connected in a big way. Just saw a commander sacrifice somewhere out of the corner of my eye. Oh, that wasn't a commander sacrifice. That's a dead commander if I've ever seen one. Apparently trying to get some sort of a D-gun done. Instead, trading his life entirely for, ultimately, a metal donation. All right. Well, nicely done. There we go. The cyan commander here, the, yeah, light blue commander. Oh, there's Janus's. Oh, no, the friendly fire on the Janus. Oh, no. Oh, that sucks. The lab goes down right there due to the friendly fire on the Janus. That's brutal. Brutal connection right there, but there you go. Even still managing to find some value here. Janus missiles continuing to connect with the blitzes over here. As long as the Janus kite, they should be able to get some decent connections against these guys. Yeah, there we go. Maroon capitalizing on the opportunity to jump on top of this base here, denying the blue commander any opportunity to reclaim this metal. At this point, I feel like as the blue commander, what you really ideally should do is just reclaim this metal and start moving your production forward here. Start up some solar panels, start up some metal extractors, start up all that good stuff. We can obviously rebuild the metal extractors here in the back as well, but reclaiming a whole bunch of this and getting it rebuilt with the commander might not be the worst idea. Volshock now forced offline right here and going to open up tons and tons of space right here for Rolfenstein. Yeah, Rolfenstein, the brown commander. A couple of bombers headed across. Well, that's more than a couple. They were stacked up and I didn't see exactly how many they were, but that's 5 Cortex Whirlwind bombers headed directly towards the purple commander's base. Interesting windmill formation here. We've got the open square. Don't think these bombers are going to care, though. Very nicely done, shutting down a whole bunch of those solar panels. We do have some advanced solar panels, or pardon me, those wind turbines. We do have some advanced solar panels here. Prime target. Gonna go after the build power, too. That's also very annoying, especially considering we're going for this T2 lab right now. Fighters swarming the bombers, trying to shut down as many as they can. Oh, bombers missed their runaway, or their run by right there on the... They missed their lineup on the runway right there to try and attack those solar panels. So the fighters will clean it all up. Nicely done by Potato 37 in the air, making sure to try and keep those airways clear, hopefully saving the day right here. Wind turbines en masse is going to be the order of the day right here. For Volshock, we have a Resbot actually picking the vehicle lab up and running. Very nicely done. Very good way to mitigate the damage that's dealt versus the blue commander, the light blue commander. I almost want to say the aquamarine commander. That's kind of the color that reminds me of, but anyway. Debate for color later. Aggravator's in trouble here as JTL is pushing them offline with the commander here. Rocketeers have been pumped out as well and are going to go ahead and reinforce this eventually. Ural also pushing up the line right here, harassing TNT Remmer, trying to make sure that there's never an opportunity for the Tan Commander to escape this mountain without having to sacrifice that very, very metal-rich centerpiece to this composition. There is a transport in the sky, so at the very least, if we need to emergency evacuate, we can always rely on that, but there is anti-air turrets, so you have to be so careful about that. And just as I say it, the fighter's swooping in right here, dealing some damage to the radar tower. That's quite funny. And managing to snipe that transport right there, making sure that no such thing will ever happen to the transport. Lost on the front here to these fighters. JTL up on the high ground here. Looks like the transport dropped him off. LLT is going to be the name of the game, but the Rocketeers have already blasted apart the bot lab over here. Geothermal goes up as well. Looks like it was a self-D, actually. Loads of metal available for the reclamation here, but we don't have a resbot in order to pick it up. Meanwhile, middle of the map. Looking well for the red team. Volshock still in the back foot, though. This Janus just got a beautiful connection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those aggravators were damaged, and now one of them is destroyed. LLT is trying to hold the line here, and Sizer is going to jump on top of those rocket bots as well, and I think eventually destroy that entire army very, very efficiently. Lovely stuff right here from Sadist, the powder blue commander, moving forward right now, trying to get whatever connections possible, trying to make sure that those incisors have every opportunity that they can to get some value out here. Janus missiles continuing to knock around those bots, and they are essentially the cornerstone of any Armada T1 vehicle composition. They're how you beat Rocketeers, they're how you beat medium tanks, they're how you beat so many of the different powerful options that come out in the early T1 era. Oh, Janus realigning its missiles. It'll go down before firing, but it does connect them. At the very least, doing a little bit of damage here. Pounder tanks not too unhappy to take those trades against Janus, though. Effectively the same, filling the same role, but in a different way. Pounder tanks quite a bit better, though, I would say, overall. Ural happily claiming this high ground now. Metal extractors have been set up. That's another juicy 4 metal per second going back to the green commander's economy right here. Looks like the blue commander, the blue commander has been forced offline right here. Almost slipped into my terrible Red Alert 3 Russian accent. I have a full playthrough of that, by the way, in case you're interested in checking that out. Archived all nice and snugly in the non-Beyond All Reason playlists. Resbot managed to reclaim about half of this Armada commander wreckage. Going to leave quite a lot here, though, for a Polygon to get his hands on. His greedy, greedy mitts going to be eager to claim up that 600 or so metal that's still available on that front line. Could be wonderful for helping rebuild right now. Going to desperately need to get something out on the line right here. This commander, the only stopgap between a full-on run-by that kills the air player and the top player of the red team. Chronopoli is trying desperately to rebuild at this point. Trying to claim metal extractors, trying to push back as much as possible. Meta's commander now separated from his main force. Oh, this is tricky. Mace is now available here. We have the Resbots as well to keep them alive. As long as these Resbots are still alive, these Maces are effectively invincible. Rocketeers are a pain right here. Going to continue harassing down the missile trucks. Signal 777 trying to continue applying pressure here. We've gone into mass missile truck. I mean, it was viable for the longest time, and then it became unviable for the longest time, and it feels like it really is back to stay. Those missile trucks are so good at continually harassing down these forces. You need so many of them to really snowball effectively, but if you manage to get them firing and keep them firing, yeah, they can really start to dismantle forces in just a matter of moments. I like them. I like them quite a bit. I think they're going to fit more and more into any vehicle composition as time goes on and people get more accustomed to the change that it was made to them to make them fire their non-targeting but higher damage missile. A little bit of a Cortex and Armada technological innovation. Seems like a Cortex innovation, right? Remove the tracking, cram in a little bit more C4. And Armada essentially just had to do the same in order to keep up. A little bit of a run-by over on this green base over here. The Seafoam Green Commander now dealing with a bunch of pawns in the backline. Overwhelming a bunch of the missile trucks, but the medium tanks, the LLTs, and all the rest of it managed to clean it all up quite nicely, and overall, I would say damage is minimal. Red Commander now continuing to produce troops once more. The Blue Commander has paid for this loss of frontline right here with the T2 transition. We're just about completed right now, but we are running out of steam. Yeah, we need desperately to hand some metal over to the Blue Commander so we can finish up this T2 transition. Oh no, we're simultaneously going for a T2 transition here for Ural as well. These commanders aren't communicating ideally, and so both of them are dumping tons and tons, thousands and thousands of metal into T2 labs that either one could be paying for and just get the T2 constructor out of. That's a bit of a misplay right there. A little bit of a miscommunication that I'd expect a little bit better of from some of the best of the best of the very best. Sheldon now blasting away at medium tanks on the southern side. We have Stouts going up against Stouts here, but the Janus included in the composition right here for Volshock going to be all the difference in shutting those down. The impulse that offers you allows your tanks to connect with just a couple more shots, but it's incremental little differences like that that end up making the entire fight way more efficient. Remember, more units doesn't necessarily mean a linear increase in efficiency. It's more like an exponential one. Thugs blasting Sadist down quite efficiently here. Yeah, that's 22% left on that commander, forced to cloak and remove himself from the front lines. Not enough energy to keep himself cloaked permanently, but enough to, at the very least, vacate the premises. Medium tank's getting a good opportunity here. We have, my goodness, quite a few pings. Ural pinging to death his ticks that are running into the base. That's not going to work. And just like that, that T2 lab, what was it really worth in the grand scheme of things when 17 metal 300 and something odd energy ticks managed to run their way into the base here and kill just about everything. LLT goes down, and in its explosion, sacrificing itself for the greater good here, managing to take down the majority of those ticks. The rest of them, though, getting some of the wind turbines over here. A beautiful little run-by, of course, from the Orange Commander. Very nicely done. Keeping in mind that even the cheapest of units can still find value in the latest of games. Signal 777 not paying attention. Oh no, the brown and pink commanders both go down at the exact same moment. The brown commander, Rolfenstein, caught in the explosion of his ally. That is unfortunate. Definitely gonna increase tensions right there between the two allies that are supposed to be working together, but right now are responsible for one another's death. Brutal as it is on the front line, you have to learn how to play through it, and getting Resbots out there to reclaim it would be the first step. Eating up that metal, sending it back to your teammate, making sure to reinvest it into the front lines would be very, very critical at this point. We have T2 mexes coming up right now. It explains the lack of forces on the front right here, but we do have these Sheldon blasting away at the LLTs super efficiently. 100%, infinitely efficiently. Taking no damage, of course. Able to shell away from quite a vast distance. Tsar now moving down into the southern, well, containing this southern area, but managing to lock down this high area as well. Making sure that Metis doesn't really feel comfortable pushing forward, or shouldn't at the very least. And Commander going to be forced to back off just because of those shell shockers here. Medium tanks, not ideal for run-bys against commanders. They tend to lose. But at the very least, they can threaten a commander backwards with proper micro. Rocket Spider is going to be the name of the game now, coming out of the lab right here for the Blue Commander. We're going to pivot into a couple of Hounds. Wouldn't be surprised to see some Welders and maybe even a Sharpshooter or two. Rocket Spider is perfect for dealing with these early T1 static defenses. In fact, perfect for dealing with virtually any static defense. Their triple barrage of rockets is incredibly capable against non-moving targets. Non-moving targets like unmicroed rocket bots, and just like that, they managed to blast apart some of those T1 trash. Like the Trasher. Actually named the Trasher. Resbot here. Under microed and will lose it. Chronopoly's trying to build an LLT up here. There's LLTs to guard it though, so that won't happen. Suddenly at a little bit of a loss right now. This is a desperate move, but we're gonna go for the advanced Geo right here, trying to find some way to get back into this game. We have 460-ish energy per second, about to shoot up to about 2,000 for the Yellow Commander. That's gonna be a massive increase to the energy production right here. Well, okay, shooting up to about 1,500. Either way, that's more than enough energy to start increasing your build power, increasing your production, start getting those fighters out, and maybe even going into T2. We've already got the T2 metal extractors up and running right now. A polygon, just trying to fortify this area, spending all the metal on static defense right here, but overflowing quite a significant chunk of it. Medium tank, shell shockers, whistlers, lashers, you name it, and some more. They're all in the middle of the map right now, trying to jump on top of metas. Oh, and that's why medium tanks suck against commanders, though. That D-gun carved apart thousands and thousands of metal in just a couple hundred energy. Beautifully done right there for the orange commander, managing to connect against a whole bunch of those medium tanks, those brutes trying to snipe their commander, but not having much luck whatsoever. Oh, Metis is lining up another one. Here it comes. Here it comes. I can just smell it. Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Taking one step too far, and suddenly the orange commander goes down in a ball of fire and flame. The brutes manage to do it. And just like that, Metis is knocked off the front line here with virtually nothing left to the name here. We are going into those T2 metal extractors, but far be it from enough to stop a whole swarm of medium tanks about to collapse on top of the orange commander. We need a desperate throw into T2 here, and these Sheldon are trying their very best, but there's only so much they can do. Already these Sheldon down on the southern side have had so much time. They've had nearly 5 minutes now to just gain efficient trades. They've just been wasting the metal of the red team, atrophying away their defenses, and eventually we end up in this situation here where now there's not really enough forces that are available on the front line. There's not really anything you can do other than maybe get a miracle spybot or EMP missile connection. There's always a comeback maneuver, but it feels hopeless, and especially for the Brown Commander who's now trapped in a T1 era. Difficult to make a transition when there's tons of T2 on your front line. And just like that, Wolfenstein is now knocked out of the game. No constructors remaining, save for the spare wind turbine constructors that were just building random accessory wind turbines to the main base here. Sheldon now ravaging all the rest of this. And hopefully, yeah, we have some Twitchers and a Commander moving forward right here to claim both the metal extractors and all of the reclaim. Fiends moving forward here too as well, trying to jump on top of all this. Medium tanks and incisors are pushed forward through the base right now of the Orange Commander. Beamer turret is up and running now. Able to do fabulously against those incisors. Those light tanks don't stand a chance against beamer turrets. It's one of their more effective use cases. Chronopoly's going for a little dance. Dancing with death right here, trying to outdance the missiles and the hounds and all the rest of it. My goodness. Persecutor finally comes up, my goodness, to try and save the red commander. Our view right now is very dim. We don't have very much perspective on exactly what those blue units are up to. But suffice it to say, Chronopoly's is a hero for stalling so long against all those effectively siege units. Welders or some such on the front would have won that fight instantaneously, but that's a discussion maybe we're not quite ready to have. Southern side, completely crippled. Advanced metal extractors now reclaimed by the Twitcher over here. Wouldn't even mind seeing the Twitcher set up regular metal extractors. They're only 50 metal and 500 energy, and at this point in the game, that's basically nothing. That's a second's worth of production. Oh, missile spiders coming up this hillside and now firing on top of the Sheldon over here. Beautifully done. We do have a Weber as well to try and paralyze some of them. Nice usage of those reclaim spiders, or well, reclaim and rocket spiders, both of them working in tandem right here to make an effective trade. Hounds also firing over the hillside right here as well. Clear the screen right there. And the Sheldon now blasting away at that static defense. Obviously, the superpower of the Sheldon being able to outrange lots of static defensive structures, like, for instance, the pop-up Scorpion turrets. Persecutor is going to be what's necessary in order to outrange Sheldon, but at this point, we're putting up a Persecutor as the Sheldon are blasting it down. No way we're going to be able to keep up that level of production without E-stalling or M-stalling. Bombers now coming in to try and connect with all this. That's a desperation move right there. When your air player is forced to bomb assault forces on the front line, you know you're in a terrible, terrible situation. The Green Commander on top of it with the fighters, just like that. Winning the air battle against the fighters and then proceeding to take out every single bomber. Beautifully done. Shutting down all of the danger that the air player represented at any point in time, and now getting these fighters directly over the airbase will be fabulous. It means no longer will any air units be produced until anti-air can clear that. We are going to go into T2 air, so at the very least, some better fighters are about to make the field here. Those Valiants about to be outpaced by the progress of time. But suffice it very well to say that those fighters have thoroughly won the air duel at this point, and the Green Commander can feel incredibly comfortable going into whatever transition they like. Right now it's bombers, and I feel like we're a little bit lacking on build power at the moment. There we go. Indeed, we're going to remedy that. Going into T2 makes a lot of sense right now. That's what the yellow player is trying to accomplish, is going into T2 and hoping that the efficiency, the technological efficiency, can make up the difference of what was ultimately a loss in the air right there. We'll have to wait and see. T2 fighters quite good, but fighters in general quite flimsy. Sheldon falling left, right, and center. Sumo's also pushing forward right here. Love the inclusion of the Sumos, but there's just only so much you can do against a superior number of forces. Almost identical composition here, except with the Sumos versus without. More Sheldons ends up winning the match, though. Finally, this Sheldon ball feels like it's hit its stride. Blasting away at a whole bunch of stuff over here. That was the red commander going down on the northern side, by the way. Loads of wreckage that I'm sure these Webbers are going to be more than happy to eat up. There you go. You can see that Webber eating up the juicy commander wreckage. Pop-up turret going to deny some of that, though. Very nicely done from the red commander, setting up defenses in a key location. Blue forces on the southern side. You know what? They've been turned around. The blue team in a little bit of trouble here. Their production is, well, it's been wonderful for so far into the game, and that T2 transition caught the red team off guard, but the red team isn't quite out of this yet. They're not quite ready to tap that resign button, and so I think the blue team is ready to keep on fighting. The red team, pardon me, is ready to keep on fighting. Gonna try and self-D the lab. Fiends too much damage per second in order. Oh my goodness! In order to deal that. That was a beautiful connection right there from the Persecutor, though. Managed to take down a whole bunch of those units right there. Was that a... Oh yeah, we have a Persecutor firing on Hierarch mode as well. Reclaim spiders. Man, they're good, aren't they? Couple hundred metal per second coming back whenever they're reclaiming, and obviously they can't reclaim. They can't keep up that pace forever. But while they're reclaiming, you certainly skyrocket your economy. Nicely done by Euro. Great utilization of those reclaim spiders. Easy to forget that those exist. Definitely one of the most powerful units in the game. I feel like I say that about basically every unit in the game. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I like Bar so much, is that every unit feels like the most powerful unit in the game. Even the Tick, the humble Tick, feels like an incredibly powerful asset on the front lines. This Sheldon ball has to get insane value in order to make up the difference that the Sheldons in purple had for the longest time right here. For what it's worth, though, they're going up against T1 units over here. I mean, this is a lot of T1 trash that should have ultimately just been recycled. I'm not sure why we're keeping these T1 units on the field right here. All of this should have been recycled. If we just select the Wolverines, the Pounders, the Lashers, all that T1 nonsense. That's about 3,000 metal worth of units. Could be a fusion reactor, could be a couple of T2 Tiger tanks, could be a Banisher or two. There's a lot of options that I think would make a whole lot more sense than keeping around the T1. They're not even effectively very good against, for instance, Ticks. Well, you know what? The Lashers seem to still be decent against them. Surprisingly. Very surprisingly. Spybot and we win bottom, cries out Ballshock, and I think he's absolutely right. That Ball of Sheldon is really only going to be brought down by one of two things. Beautiful Spybot connections or massive investment in overwhelming assault units. Things like Blitzes, things like Pawns, things like Ticks, things like lightning tanks, things like even Tiger tanks to a degree. And I was talking about efficiency, but there you go. There's the Sheldon being efficient. Blasting apart all this T1 without Naya casualty. T1 static defense is about to fall here as well. Gunships in the air. You're all desperately pleading for some air support. Those T1 fighters now outscaled. Yeah, and our green commander didn't ever make a T2 transition. Just like that, the yellow commander Polygon, with the T2 transition, manages to get air superiority here. Has the gunships now working away on the ground forces. Fighters trying desperately. Those T2 are so good. Those Nightwings up in the sky, blasting apart any of those T1 fighters before they have a chance to get on top of the gunships. What a turnaround in the air right there. A complete win of the air forces right there, and then a throw of the clutch. And suddenly, a Polygon, I would say, is thoroughly on top. We've got the fusion reactor up and running. We've even got a dragon in progress right now. All right, that's an expensive venture. 5,000 metal in order to build one of those dragons. But I suppose if we can find a space for it, if we can make the space for it, if we can find value, there's certainly opportunity to be had in the humble flying fortress of the Cortex faction. Sheldon's now displaced from the middle of the map, instead trying to harass down this northern side, trying to deal the most amount of damage in the least amount of time. That's what they're looking for, ultimately. Spiderbots, welders, all sorts of tankier units, definitely an ideal target for the Sheldon to whittle down eventually. Bull's definitely on that list as well. Trying to find space to engage here, but they just don't have the speed to beat that many Sheldon. We are up to, at this point, 36 Sheldon. It's a hefty investment in those siege units, but if you manage to get enough of them up and running, there's not really anything that you can produce that's going to shut those down effectively or efficiently. Some sacrifices must be made. Spybot has been looking for this connection for ages. This is what it was looking for. Beautiful connection with the Spybot. My goodness. The entire ball of Sheldon is paralyzed right there. What an absolutely monstrous connection from the Spybot, from the purple commander. Griko Bratko melting the Sheldon ball right there. 36 Sheldon or so blasted to smithereens by the fiends and pawns and everything else. That's a game winner right there. That's the type of move that brings you back into a game that otherwise looks like it's on the brink of defeat. It's what the blue team needed, and I think it's their rallying cry. Resbot's immediately getting to work to reclaim all of this juicy metal, and I think the blue team is now feeling incredibly invigorated. That is phenomenal. Dragons and gunships moving out on the southern side here. We do have tons and tons of AA trucks. Not exactly the ideal area to push into. I'm not sure if we want to send these in. We have the AA trucks. AA trucks quite good. Also quite mobile, it's worth remembering. I don't know. I don't like this fight here. Yeah, I think those AA trucks are going to be too efficient against these gunships. Obviously, the commander can D-gun that dragon. Oh, no, don't tell me. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, Volshak misses the D-gun on the dragon right there, so it will stay up and standing. Snipes the dragon before the fighters jump on top of it. 5,000 metal to kill a commander on the front line. Is it worth it? Well, the front line's not really broken, and there's plenty of opportunity to res that commander. I'm not sure if that was really ultimately worth it. Still, though, a little bit of a morale breaker. Yeah, I'll say that. It's definitely a hit to the morale right there for the blue team to lose that commander to a dragon. It also means, of course, that everybody's going to be concerned about dragons. Yeah. Let there be dragons, cries out the yellow commander now, who is happily going into some of those Cortex T2 fighters right here on their very last commander. Blue team still comfortably sitting at 5 commanders here, with the red team sitting at just 1. Means they're on their last leg. Ticks have been spread out all over the place here to make sure that there's proper vision. Love to see that. It's also a minefield for spybots that are trying to traverse forward in this direction. After that beautiful spybot connection against the Sheldon over there, I think everybody's on edge right here on the red team, trying to make sure that they don't get that kind of EMP paralysis against them. I'm still shaking in my boots about that spybot connection. That was beautifully done. Probably 98% of the Sheldons in that ball were paralyzed. That was amazing. Geothermal coming up here, the advanced geothermal. Tapped by the... Oh, a little bit of a pause and restart right there. That was a bit odd. Anyways, started up by the T2 constructor right there, who popped open the advanced geothermal so that it can be finished by the purple commander. Not a bad idea, of course, those advanced geothermals providing such a tremendous amount of energy. Oh, looks like we get another juicy spybot connection over here as well. Some fiends jumping on top of the bulls right now, and as well, of course, a bunch of starlights in the flame ring. Not bad. An efficient trade, to say the very least, but also a necessary one. Once those starlights get up to number, they really can't be hard to shut down. The Scorpion having the time of its life. Blasting away at tanks like it's nobody's business right here. This forward defensive setup, we were even setting up a screamer right here to try and shoot down some of the aeroplanes on the side of the blue team here. Eventually overwhelmed by the Tiger tanks. Strawberry showed us a long while ago that Tiger tank spam is definitely viable. Cheap enough in the T2 era that you can go for plenty of them without really draining your economy too harshly, but also sturdy enough that they're worth spamming out and sending to the front lines like ticks. Mammoth in trouble right here as the pawns get a beautiful surround. Would love to see these spread out a little bit better. If you keep them in a perfect circle, obviously, it makes sure that the surround bonus is 100%. Or near 100%. It's like 98% or 95% or something like that, as far as I understand it. Geothermal out of energy, that's ironic. It produces its own energy and it's out. Nice D-gun right there from Ural as well, shutting all that down. Bomber wave coming across the map now. Whirlwind bombers could have done well to target these T2 metal extractors. I think that's probably worthwhile. Oh, nice swoop right here from the yellow commander. Diving the T2 fighters across the bombers, dodging the fighter wave and jumping on the bombers instead. Very nice control right there from the yellow commander. Oh my goodness, every bomber has gone down. 3 bombs total were deployed right there from that entire bombing run from the purple commander. That is heartbreaking for Griko Bratko, who went into such a heavy investment in those bombers only to get it swooped out from behind by superior air control. Wonderful, wonderful play right there. It's time for T2, and I think these T1 T1 planes are now well outscaled. We're going into an APHIS right here. We're trying to eco scale right now for Potato 37, trying to make fighters as well. Tricky to balance all that, tricky to figure out when you need them and when you don't, but certainly after losing the entire wave of fighters right there, now would be an excellent time to reinforce the fighter patterns. A couple of ticks running forward right here, just being sacrificed mostly to the beamer turrets of death and doom and destruction. Ultimately going to farm hundreds and hundreds of kills as these ticks continue to spam forward. Do we have any more of those AA trucks available? We sure do, and they're going to be more than happy to blast apart these scouting planes. Just like that, those condors get shot out of the sky, blasted to smithereens, obliterated. No scouting today for the red team. Let me check the player view. A decent view of exactly what's going on in the backline. No scouting, however, of the blue base or the green base, or really even the light green base, Ural's base. How about for the blue? What's their scouting information look like? You know what? Roughly similar. Yeah, almost exactly the same. No scouting of this backline player, no scouting of this upper player right here. Looks like the red commander actually tapped out of this game at this point. A Polygon going to be taking over the northern side as well as the air constructor, air monitoring space. That's a tricky thing to hold. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing all this handed over instead to TNT Remmer here, just so that one person can focus on one thing at a time. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it would probably be valuable. We do have a tactical missile launcher as well, the Catalyst, ready to start firing away. You can see the range of that. Enough to start blasting away at some of these forces, also enough to start blasting away at some of the blue. If we could land a juicy connection, oh, it's not quite finished yet. If we could land a juicy connection against these snipers, I think it's probably the most valuable area for it, but obviously hitting the moving target is much more difficult with the nuclear, or the tactical nuke. It is a tactical nuke, right? Oh no, I guess it's just a tactical missile launcher. I think it has like a little nuclear symbol on it or something. For some reason, I always call it a tactical nuclear missile. It's, I mean, it certainly seems like it, right? It hits with the oomph of a tactical nuke. Technically not one, though, I suppose. Tick spam, atrophying the firing capacity right here for the blue team. Their front line now forced to spend all of their actions deflecting ticks, while the red team uses this time to continue scaling. The commander, the brown commander that existed here once, has now been removed from action. Now taken over by Signal 777, who's now going to start trying to whittle away at some of these defenses over here. We have Scorpions and Pitbulls and Persecutors and Beamer turrets and all the rest of it. Everything that you can imagine to defend against over here, so I think these missile trucks make a lot of sense. Going to outrange everything that we have over here and just start blasting away at whatever we can. Probably going to need a couple of them, though, 3 or 4 or 5 of them in order to actually do some damage, because, of course, we have these repair turrets keeping everything very nice and healthy. Who's ready for T3? It feels like it's about time, almost as if on cue. TNT Remmer starts up the T3 lab right here. Obviously with the fabulous economy up here and the T2 lab to enjoy reclaiming as well, the T3 lab should come up and running quite nicely here. A couple hundred metal per second, well, 106 metal per second. Gonna be more than enough to start up at the very least a Cortex T3 gantry. We do not have T3 on the brain for anybody in the blue team though. Interesting. There we go. It was about time for it, and Volshak decided that he would be the one to commit. We have a couple fusion reactors we can eat up for metal here, actually, so I like that quite a lot from the blue commander. Yeah, thinking better of it and deciding instead maybe to go for the fusion reactor and then the advanced fusion reactor and then the T3 gantry, and I think that probably makes a lot of sense. Scorpion turret in a lot of trouble here. Those missile trucks firing away, long range. Doing tons of damage. Ticks keeping them wide open as well, keeping the Scorpion turrets up and open. Doing a fabulous job of making sure, there we go. A little bit of hold fire micro. Oh, nicely done right there from Volshak. Very nicely done. Hold fire micro to make sure that this thing stays tucked into its little shell. That way it takes decreased damage from these missiles over here, meaning that it doesn't, well, die. We needed constant repairs in order to keep it alive right there. That wasn't happening, so unfortunately, despite beautiful micro, it does end up falling. We've hit a bit of a lull. Yeah, we've definitely hit a little bit of a lull, but it's a great time to compare the economies right here. My goodness. Despite pushing back quite a substantial ways, the red team is still certainly in the gutters here. Gonna have to claw back with some phenomenal trades because they have nearly 2/3 the economy of the blue team now. Blue team with 650-ish metal per second, with the red team clocking in at around 450. 38, call it 40,000 energy for the blue team, and just about 23 for the red. Ural going off on his teammates right here, trying to obliterate their morale as much as possible. I'm so tilted, you all suck so much ass, I'm 1v3 all game. Hoping to cripple his team's morale economy That way when he gets the golden cow, he doesn't have to pretend to share it with anybody. Orange Force is now building up sharpshooters. Tan Force is now building up sharpshooters, welders, and sharpshooters, and you know I love to see it. We have the tactical missile launcher now clearing things out over here. We have the EMP missile launcher. Obliterated. It had 3 missiles charged up, so it certainly could have fired back into the catalyst, but low was the APM of Ural, and so unfortunately was not able to counter that tactical missile. We do have we have a tracer, the intrusion countermeasure system, so we know that there's some stealth tanks out and about over here. Nicely done, because it does allow you to actually deal with those much more nicely. They have to be moving, though, in order to detect them. There we go. Yep. Once they're moving, you can start to detect them, but if they're not moving, then you can't see them. Stealth tanks now found. Bull trying to deal with these. You need something to detect them, something to ram into them to find them. Ticks are going to be used, and I think that makes a lot more sense than the bulls here. Yep. Cheeky play right there from the Pink Commander going for a couple of stealth tanks, but nicely done by Volshock to make sure to try and include some of those much more important tracer anti-stealth intrusion method pieces of technology, let's call it. Facilities, maybe that's a better word for it. 4 dragons up in the air right now. Is it enough? Could be. In the right spot and at the right time, it certainly could be. Nighthawk's now built right here. Looks like the Green Commander learned the lesson about the T1 and instead started to invest in this T2. Oh, flying over so much anti-air though. Yikes. All those fighters just died. And now the T2 fighters control the sky. We do have a whole bunch of T1 available, I will say, for the Purple Commander. Yeah, I think this is probably the best use you're going to get out of the dragons, though. Jumping on top of this group. There we go. Dragon's going to start burning apart all these T2 forces right here. Those sharpshooters, obviously the most expensive part of this composition, but taking down the welders is nice, too. Basilisk definitely exposed here as well. Yeah, you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. T2 fighters now jumping on top of the dragons. I don't think they're going to get it, though. There we go. Basilisk does go down. I would say those dragons found their value. Pull them back, repair them up, send them out to a different part of the map. T3 now out and available here. Vanguard drawing the ire of this demon over here, but it will be blasted apart by the D-gun right there. Karakov cries out the Orange Commander just a second too late. Volshok gets the D-gun off, and the Vanguard numbers are continuing to rise. Now, I've seen this beautiful push that's been happening recently where you go for 3 or 4 Vanguard, and then you go for a Titan. Looks like Razorbacks are going to be what Volshok goes for, and I think 1 or 2 of them at the very least is a good inclusion just to deal with some of these spam units that are coming out. Vanguard's dangerous in exactly the same way as the catapults. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Demons have made it across the field and into the backline, and just like that, the Yellow Command... Oh, why'd you reveal yourself? Why would you reveal yourself? Oh, no, with the D-gun that I think was intended to try and snipe some of those dragons, accidentally revealing the very last commander. And just like that, Potato 37, I think accidentally kills the last commander and wins the game for his team. What a hilarious turn of events. I was excited to see the Vanguard Razorback push on the southern side, but it looks like Potato 37 was interested in no such thing. Says, I'm going to win this game right now, right this second, and showed us exactly how. Beautiful game of Beyond All Reason on DSDR. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments section. Don't forget to smile and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match. Peace out, everybody.